Introduction. William Edward Burghardt Du Bois, better known as W.E.B. Du Bois was not only a scholar of immense intellect, but also a tireless activist, a global thinker, and a revolutionary who helped shape the course of African American history. As the first African American to earn a Ph.D. from Harvard, Du Bois used education not just as personal empowerment, but as a weapon against oppression. Over a career that spanned more than 7 decades, he challenged the dominant racial ideologies of his time and demanded that Black Americans be treated with the dignity, rights, and equality they deserved. This documentary explores the remarkable life and enduring legacy of W.E.B. Du Bois, from his early days in Massachusetts to his global Pan-African advocacy and eventual exile in Ghana. His journey is a blueprint for how intellect, courage, and commitment can transform the world. Early life and education. W.E.B. Du Bois was born on the 23rd of February, 1868, in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, a largely white town in the post-Civil War North. Though spared the daily violence of the Jim Crow South, Du Bois still encountered racial prejudice. As a young boy, he noticed the quiet but firm walls that separated Black residents from opportunity. But he also experienced encouragement, particularly from his white teachers who recognized his brilliance and potential. He graduated as valedictorian of his high school in 1884. With the help of local supporters and scholarships, Du Bois enrolled at Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. There, he encountered the harsh realities of segregation, racism, and the daily humiliations of Black life in the South. The experience was transformative. It radicalized his thinking and solidified his mission to fight for a society where color would not determine one's worth or future. After Fisk, Du Bois attended Harvard University. Despite his earlier achievements, Harvard required him to complete a second undergraduate degree before pursuing graduate studies. Undeterred, he excelled. In 1895, he became the first African American to earn a Ph.D. from Harvard. He later studied at the University of Berlin, where he was exposed to European political theories and advanced sociological methods. This global education would shape his future activism and belief in the international dimensions of racial justice. The scholar and sociologist, Du Bois returned to the United States, armed with rigorous academic training and a powerful moral vision. He embarked on a groundbreaking scholarly career. In 1899, he published The Philadelphia Negro, the first sociological study of an African American community based on empirical research. He meticulously collected data and refuted the racist belief that poverty and crime were inherent to Black people. Instead, he showed how discrimination, lack of access to education, and economic exclusion were the root causes of societal problems. But it was his 1903 masterpiece, The Souls of Black Folk, that cemented his place in American intellectual history. This collection of essays blended history, philosophy, sociology, and personal reflection. In it, Du Bois introduced the concept of double consciousness, the internal conflict Black Americans face as they navigate life in a society that simultaneously excludes and defines them. "One ever feels his two-ness," he wrote. "An American, a Negro, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings." The souls of Black folk struck a chord. It was at once an indictment of systemic racism and a declaration of Black humanity, dignity, and resilience. The Niagara Movement and the birth of the NAACP. Frustrated with the slow pace of progress and the conservative strategy of Booker T. Washington, Du Bois called for immediate action. In 1905, he and other intellectuals and activists founded the Niagara Movement, a bold organization that demanded civil rights, full political participation, and an end to racial segregation. The Niagara Movement's demands were radical for the time. They rejected the idea that Black Americans should accept second-class citizenship. Though the organization only lasted a few years, it was a catalyst for the creation of something much larger. In 1909, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, was formed partly in response to the Springfield race riot of 1908. Du Bois was a founding member and became the editor of the Crisis, the NAACP's monthly magazine. Under his leadership, the Crisis became a powerful platform for Black literature, political commentary, and social justice. Its pages featured works from Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and other luminaries of the Harlem Renaissance. Du Bois used the Crisis to speak out against lynching, disenfranchisement, and racist policies. It was not just a publication, it was a movement in ink. Clash with Booker T. Washington. A central conflict in Du Bois's life was his long-standing ideological clash with Booker T. Washington, the influential Black leader who promoted vocational training and accommodation to white supremacy as a survival strategy. Washington argued that African Americans should focus on economic self-reliance and postpone the demand for civil rights. Du Bois fiercely opposed this philosophy. He believed that silence in the face of injustice was complicity. He advocated for the development of a talented 10th, the top 10% of Black intellectuals and professionals who would lead the race to full equality through education, political agitation, and leadership. Their debate reflected broader tensions within the Black community about how to survive and thrive under a system of oppression. Though they shared a common goal, uplifting Black Americans, their paths to that goal were sharply divergent. Pan-Africanism and global vision. Du Bois was one of the first African American leaders to frame racial justice as a global struggle. He became a passionate advocate of Pan-Africanism, a movement that called for solidarity among people of African descent worldwide. In 1900, Du Bois helped organize the first Pan-African Conference in London. He later led several Pan-African Congresses, bringing together leaders from Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas. Du Bois viewed colonialism and racism as two sides of the same coin. His famous declaration at the 1900 conference, "The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line," became a prophetic warning of the struggles to come. As fascism, imperialism, and racism spread globally in the early 20th century, Du Bois insisted that African Americans must stand in solidarity with oppressed people everywhere. His activism made him a target of government surveillance during the Cold War, particularly as he became more vocal about socialism and anti-imperialism. Later years and exile. In his later years, Du Bois remained as defiant as ever. Disillusioned by the slow progress of civil rights in America, he embraced socialist ideals and grew increasingly critical of U.S. foreign policy, particularly its opposition to emerging African nations. In the 1950s, during the height of McCarthyism, Du Bois was indicted as an unregistered foreign agent because of his involvement in peace movements. Though the charges were ultimately dropped, his passport was revoked, effectively silencing him on the international stage. In 1961, at the age of 93, Du Bois accepted an invitation from President Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana to move to the newly independent African nation. There, he worked on the Encyclopedia Africana, a comprehensive documentation of African history and culture. On the 27th of August 1963, one day before Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech in Washington, D.C., W.E.B. Du Bois died in Accra, Ghana, far from the land that shaped him, but at peace among a people he had long called his brothers. Legacy. W.E.B. Du Bois's legacy is vast and enduring. He left behind more than 20 books, hundreds of articles, and a trail of activism that shaped the 20th century's civil rights movement. He challenged a nation to see beyond race, to confront its hypocrisies, and to build a more equitable future. Du Bois once said, "Education and work are the levers to uplift a people." But he also knew that without justice, education and work would never be enough. His vision, intellect, and relentless pursuit of equality remain guiding lights for all those who believe in human dignity. Du Bois taught us that change begins not in the halls of power, but in the courage of those willing to speak the truth even when the world isn't ready to hear it.